Hey everybody. Whew, I can't believe seems like such a long time since I've been live, but it was really only 2 weeks. So, hi, I'm Romi Hill, and this is my almost weekly Thursday live YouTube where I answer your questions and I talk about what I'm doing lately and just basically hang out with you all and have a good time. So it's lovely to see you in the chat. And I'm very happy to see that the settings actually like stayed this time and everybody can chat. Yay. Hi, everybody. So nice to see you there. Thank you for joining me. So today, I do, if you follow me on Instagram, you will see that I put a lot of reels on there talking about different techniques. And so I like to kind of go over some of those a little bit more in depth in my live. And so today I am going to go over the sewn tubular bind off. So some people call that the Italian bind off. So it makes a really beautiful edge. And I'm going to do a little tiny bind off here on my little swatch in the round and show you how to like connect the end part so it looks really nice. And that was a question that I got on Instagram. But putting it on a reel and on Instagram, I only get like a minute and a half. So there's way too much to go over in a minute and a half. So, okay, let's see everybody. Yay. So I'm wearing my springy glasses today because I'm looking out and it's really pretty. The snow's melting. The mountains looking less snowy. It's very sunny. So, yeah. Anyway, please feel free to ask questions in the chat or chat amongst yourselves or whatever you like to do. There's a little bit of a delay. So, what I'm saying right now is coming at you, but my broadcasting software buffers. So, there's going to be a little bit of a delay before I see your question and respond to you. But it is lovely to see you there. So, I think I said this already. I'm a little out of practice again. So last weekend I was at a Verb for Keeping Warm in Oakland, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, for the first annual Bay Area Yarn Crawl. So that's why I wasn't here last Thursday. So I was actually, at the time of my live, I was stuck on Highway 50 in the Sierra Nevadas because a tree fell across the road and took down all the power lines. So we had to kind of wait for a little bit before everything was cleared. They got it cleared really fast. So like they did an amazing job. So I'm totally no complaints. Things can get weird. Anyway, it was a gorgeous time. Beautiful out there. The trees were in bloom. The yarn was in bloom. So I left my sample, like my preview sample of my cardigan that's going to be released soon. I left that at Verb for them to have as a sample in their shop because this weekend is also another part of the Bay Area Yarn Crawl. And so if you are going to be in the area, like in the San Francisco Bay Area, and you're dropping by Verb, you can see my preview cardigan there, and they have kits and you can try it on. It's like super lightweight. It only takes one skein of their frond base, which is silk mohair, and one skein of their even tinier Annapurna yarn, which is a light fingering weight, and it's merino and cashmere. So the size there is the largest size you can get out of those two complete skeins. And then there will be larger sizes as well. But I just wanted to have that sample there so you could see. It looks good on a wide variety of sizes. So we had tons of people trying it on, and it's super light, squishy, and wonderful. And so if you're there, try it on. And I am now actually, I'm like all tangled up here. I was going to show you what the beginning of that cardigan looks like because I was knitting it in a different yarn. I often do this with my sweaters because I usually find something that I want to clarify before it gets to you. So, so I'll show you this kind of up close. It starts with Judy's Magic Cast On, which is really fun, and I know some of you love that. So that that is, I'm going to show you that too. And then let me get all this stuff moved. Also, I came back with a giant bag of yarn. So I will show you that up close too. And that is going to be a color block sweater. So this is Verb's bread and butter yarn. It's a bulky yarn. And so I'm going to be doing a kind of color block sweater similar to my Colorica cardigan, but this one is going to be a pullover and bulky. And that's more like when the cold weather once again comes to us. So let's see, questions. Yay. Oh, and I got to indigo dye when I was there. That was so much fun. So I know Verb has indigo dyeing experiences, like you can dye your own yarn for a sweater. So I highly recommend it. It was a lot of fun. So let's see, looking at everybody. Yay. Hi, Peggy. So your daughter looked really good in that cardigan. So I wish you had, did you get to try it on too? I didn't, because I was styling her, but I didn't get to style you. Anyway, okay, so let's go to my hands here. All right. So this is, I just wanted to show you when we talk about the sewn tubular bind off. It was used on these mitts. This is someone called a taxi. So the top here, that uses a sewn tubular bind off. And it has a really pretty edge to it. So I'm going to show you how to do that and how to close it up in the round. And then let me grab, okay. So this is a super lightweight. This is actually Bouche yarn, like stuff I had left over in my stash. You can see this is from my Through the Gate Gently. And then I had this left over in my stash as well. So I decided, why not? I'll do another one. So let me show you here. So this starts here with Judy's Magic Cast On. And when this comes out, I will show you the whole shtick and everything. But so basically what I've done here is I've just left my needle in this side of it. So I used two needles when I cast on. And so this is right here is the center back. This little area right here, it has four short row sections. They're mirrored. So oh, I think that's some vegetable matter. Let's get that up. Okay. So they're mirrored. And then once that's done, then you head out. And this is the left side of the back. And I haven't gotten over to the sleeve yet, but there's some shoulder shaping up top here. I always mark all of my decreases whenever I do this, just so I can take a look really quickly and I'll know that I actually decreased because like I get distracted and lose my place. And so once this is done over on this side, I'm going to work from the other side over here. And the really cool thing about Judy's Magic Cast On is that it creates this purl row. So these bumps here, so I've used the bumps as the right side. So all I have to do is then just start working the other way. So that's pretty fun. And of course, this is going to be, I will go into more depth on this later. So this is a little tiny bit heavier than the even tinier Annapurna, but it is super, super light. So this is like, it's like a cloud. So, and it's worked at a fairly large gauge for this weight. So it's worked on US 5 needles, which means that it's pretty open and you don't want to have a heavy yarn here. So someone was asking me about floating, and floating is too heavy to be the second yarn. It needs to be a super lightweight yarn, just fluffy lightweight. So let's see. Okay, I'm just gonna put this aside now and make sure that I have answered everybody's questions. Hi, everybody. Sue, I'm so glad. Yay. Okay, so the bottom here, I use the Italian cast on, and I didn't do the 2 rows of slipping stitches. So that makes it less of like a rolled edge on here, but it still does look like a rolled edge. It's just not as hefty on the bottom. So up at the top though, so when you want to do a sewn bind off, you can either just start from the ribbing, or you can do 2 setup rounds of, I've heard them called tubular stitches, where you're going to, first you're going to slip the pearls and then you're going to slip the knits. So I have done almost the entire round of slipping each purl stitch. So you can see here up close that the yarn is, the stitch is slipped with yarn in front. So it looks like a purl stitch, but it's not really. So I'm going to get to the end here. And then once this is done, so here's, I'm going to slip my stitch with my yarn in front, and I slipped it purlwise. I have all of my stitches are mounted with the right leg in front and the left leg in back. And then I'm going to knit this last stitch here. So I like to start when I do my sewn bind off, I like to start with a purl stitch first. So if you have knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, you can just knit an extra stitch. And so you can start with the purl. So you can see here I ended with a knit, and now I'm going to start with a purl and slip the knits. So that is completely fine. Don't worry about that one last little bit there where there are 2 stitches worked in a row. That's totally fine. So now I'm going to purl and then move my yarn to the back and slip my knit column. And I'm going to do that all the way around. And you can see here that previously my purl stitch was slipped. I'm going to do that all the way around. And oops, I almost slipped that as if to knit, but I do not want to do that. So I don't want to, I don't want my stitches to be mounted differently. I want them to be right leg in front and left leg in back. Okay, so I'm just going to get all the way around here. And then we're going to start on the sewn part. So this creates a really nice edge, but it can be really fiddly. Okay, so that last knit stitch was slipped. Okay, so usually when you would start this, um, you're gonna break your yarn with about 3 lengths of yarn um, for the width, as in, what am I saying? Anyway, so you're going to have a length of yarn 3 times the width of your flat knitting. So this is in the round, so this is 6 times 2. So that being said, I like to leave a little bit extra just in case. So I'm going to cut, I just left some extra there. I'm going to cut this and now I am going to take my nice little tapestry needle here. It's blunt. I don't want to go splitting anything. So just going to load this onto my needle. All right. So this can get kind of twisty. Okay, so I'm at the beginning here. So I'm going to set this up so I can come around the other side and be able to connect these at the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is insert my needle from left to right through these 2 stitches right here. So this is a knit stitch first and then a purl stitch. So I'm always going to keep my yarn up here above. And this is probably a good time to say, I do this a little bit differently from other people I've seen do it. So I'll tell you the difference in just a sec. So I'm just going to pull this through. So my yarn is up top like this. And now I'm going to move this purl stitch here onto my other needle. So I'm moving the purl stitch around. This is going to go to the very end of the round. I'm just going to pull that through. So here, that's my first purl stitch right there. So it's on the end here instead of being right here. Okay. So Sue asked, if you do ever run short of yarn on a bind off, can you attach a new piece? Yes. So when I use this on a big sweater, for instance, I do that. Like I just spit splice in the middle, and you can do that too. Like I would do like a Russian join or something if you're not using a feltable wool. So definitely, definitely. Okay. So now what we're going to do is, this is how my method differs a little bit. So I'm going to drop this off the needle and let it just sort of hang out there. So I'm looking at the stitch like it's like flat like that. You can see here. I'm not going to tighten it or anything yet. Okay. So now I'm going to take my needle and grab the left leg of that stitch I dropped and the right leg of the next knit stitch here. And I am going to pull that yarn through. So far, I'm not really tightening it very much. And then I'm going to work this purl stitch again. right to left. You know what? I actually forgot a step and I'm not gonna mess you guys up by, I don't want to mess you up again. So just pretend I didn't do that. La 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 la. So I'm going to back out of this a little bit. I needed to work that purl stitch first and I didn't do that. So that is a very common thing to do, by the way. I do it all the time. Okay, so before I do that, I'm going to insert my needle through the purl stitch as if to knit. So that's like a left to right up at the top here. So I undid what I messed up. I needed to work that purl stitch first before working these two stitches. So that's a knit column and then the knit column. So that's right to left. Okay, much better. Now I'm going to work the purl stitch a second time, right to left. Okay, so now I am going to take both of these stitches off of my needle and I'm going to start tightening this up a little bit, but not a lot. I don't want to tighten it up so that I can't see the left leg of that knit stitch right there. Now I'm going to insert my tapestry needle into that purl stitch from left to right. So that's as if to knit. And then here is that knit stitch that I just popped off of my needle. So I'm going to grab the left leg of it and then the right leg of the knit stitch on the other side of that purl and pull my yarn through. So once that is done, I'm going to go up to the top again and go right to left. So my yarn is always up above here. Now I'm going to take those both off of my needle. So you can see it starting to curve over the side there. It's kind of magic. So I'm just going to break and see. So Diane asked if it was possible to use it on a 2x1 rib. Yes, it totally is. And I will show you how to do that next week. So there are some extra stitches, sorry, extra steps to it, um, but it looks really cool and you can do it. So yeah, but you have to rearrange your stitches first. Okay, so here we go. So I always like to think of this as left to right, right to left, right to left, and then off the needle and going to readjust there. So I'm never going to pull this so tight that I can't see this nice open looking knit stitch right there. I want to keep that looking open so I can see the leg that I want to grab. So then we're going to do left to right, right to left. So again, this is a little bit different from how I see other people do it. And this is the way that it makes the most sense to my brain. So the other way where you leave stitches on the needle it's absolutely not wrong. It's just another way to do it. There are lots and lots of ways to do everything in knitting, and that's just a different way to do it. Okay, that's going to come off the needle. And just want to make sure, oops, just want to make sure that it's nice and stretchy. So if you should lose a stitch, do not fear. It's okay. You just want to make sure that when you put it back on, that it is mounted the correct way. Okay, so I'm just going to stick this on my other needle. So I think that will make it a little easier to work. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go left to right through the purl and then grab the left leg of that last knit stitch that came off, the right leg of the next one, right to left, and right to left. So one of the things I really like about this particular method is you don't have to worry about anything except keeping the yarn up top here. So the other one is a little bit nerve-wracking for me because you have to go in and out underneath the needle with your tapestry needle. So it does not work as well for me. So, but your mileage may vary. And you may find that you like the other method better. So, which is totally fine. It gets you to the same place. And if you have my patterns like someone call it a taxi, like I was showing you before, there's also a tutorial in the back it's a photo tutorial. So if you forget, um, you can find the photo tutorial there. So I find that I can always tell where my left leg of my stitch is there. And I do know, however, that some people have a problem finding the left leg. Okay, any questions? Yes, Sue, I am so glad that this is clear to you. It scratches my my itch, so I'm really glad. Okay, so we're almost to the end here. Okay, so you can see here, this is our last purl stitch here that we started working before. So I'm going to go left to right through that purl stitch and then grab this leg right here, my left leg there, and over on this side here, I am going to grab the right leg, pull those two, and then go right to left through that purl stitch up above there. Okay, so you can see where my yarn came out, and here's my last purl. It's a little bit of a problem child because it gets a little stretched out. So I often just put my needle through there again, and on this side here, I do a little bit of messing around to make this look better. I just pull this under. I want to get that little glob. There we go. So that little tiny glob that's left up there, I just want to get that kind of dealt with. And then I'm going to Just stick my needle in through there. And now I can just go in and out like I generally would do with ribbing to sew in the end. And there we go. Okay. My glove isn't quite under there enough, but there we go. So there it is. I would probably, if I were doing this myself, I would probably take this out and redo this just because I tend to be like super picky. So, but as far as it goes, I mean, why not? You can see me take it out again. This is like the real me. This is the real, like, super, super annoying, picky person that I am. Um, so I just mess around with stuff until it looks perfect. Because it annoys me if it doesn't. I always go back to it and I'm like, it doesn't look perfect. So I hope I'm not the only person because I think I annoy my family. I'll just say that. I annoy my family by doing this. So, yeah. So this is how so I was showing you that sweater before and I'm just going to own up to how many times I frogged it. So in the short row section, it wasn't what I really wanted it to be. So I kept frogging it over and over and over and over. And I think I frogged it like 6 times. So this is like, I mean, yeah, this is peak Romy. So on my Knit Stars thing, by the way, Shelly, who's the person who's behind Knit Stars, apparently she has this little um, thing where she gets together with people and rips things out, and it's just completely like my thing. So I'm actually going to be doing a Zoom thing with her, and we're just going to be frogging things. So, which I thought was pretty funny. So I frog things in real life, and I frog things. I frog knitting. I frog everything. I used to be quite a sewist, and I would always be ripping my seams out and doing them again. So, yeah, what can I say? So now you have to watch me just frogging all my stuff here and ripping out my seam. Sometimes it is really annoying though, and I just want to like break the yarn. And especially after I was doing this and I sewed it in so nicely, but I'll get it. There we go. All right. So I didn't like my lump. So I'm going to get my lump out here. And let's see. Okay. Oh, I'm so glad you all are the same. That makes me so happy. Okay. So now we have this last little problem stitch here. And seam rippers, oh my God, yes. Seam rippers are everything. Okay, so I have my last little problem stitch here, and I'm just going to pull this over to the other side. This is annoying me greatly. Okay, there we go. This last little stitch just annoys me. So here we are back to my last little annoying stitch here. And I'm going to go over to the other side. Just pull it in. And pull it tight. Okay. So I want this to look nice going over the top. So I'm going to bring my, I'm going to bring this over the top and in through the stitch to make it look better. I really have a problem child here today. They're not usually this bad. But here we go. And now I'm going to go over the top. Hate those problem children. Okay, there we go. That's better. I prefer that. So that doesn't bother me as much. I'm so happy to see everybody who loves ripping stuff out. It makes me really happy. Okay, so there we go. If you have that last little problem stitch, I don't usually end up with a giant stitch there, but if you have it, yeah, that's how you can get rid of it. Just sew it in. So if I had wanted to do this with 2x2 ribbing, so what you're going to do with a 2x2 ribbing is you're going to start with 1x1 and then rearrange the stitches so that they're 2x2. And then for the end, you're going to rearrange them again from 2x2 to 1x1. Okay, let's see. I know, seriously, Claire, that is so true. Now I can sleep okay because that stitch is because I tamed the stitch. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so yeah. Yay. So you can see on my on these here that this was the end of the round right there. Kind of hard to see. But yeah, that was the end of the round. So on these, this is a twisted ribbing. So if you're doing this on a twisted ribbing, the edge is not going to be twisted. So you're not going to do twisted ribbing for those last two rounds. So in the slipping round, like when you're doing a slip one, knit one, and then purl and slip, those will not be twisted knits and purls. And that's to open it up so it will go across the top here. So yes, It would totally, completely have bothered me all night long. That absolutely, it would have bothered me, and I would have just been like, ah. So, since we have a little time, I am going to show you, grab my other needles here. I'm going to show you um, the Italian cast on. So, the Italian cast on is kind of loose. It's what I use to cast on for this little swatch here. So, it's a little bit loose. So when I start it, I always start it using a smaller needle. So this is, I think this is a US 3, and I'm going to be doing ribbing on US 5. So the Italian cast on is a two-stranded cast on. So I'm going to start with this smaller needle here. So there are two ways to do this, and you get to choose. So if you don't want to use a smaller needle, you can kind of tighten it up by using, you can kind of tighten it up by using an Eastern purl. So that means that all of your purl stitches, instead of being having their right leg in front, they're going to have the right leg in back here. So then the first row that you do, you're going to have to um, realize what's going on there. So, and that looks like that. So you can see the right leg here in back, and the right leg here is in front. So I find this kind of fiddly and weird to work with, and this isn't the method that I choose to do. So, however, if this works for you better, definitely go for that. But what I really like to do is I just start with a smaller needle. So um, I don't really have a formula that I can give you for how much tail. So what I usually do is I do 10 stitches cast on, and then I figure out how much tail I've used, and then I figure out how much tail I'm going to need for all of the stitches that I need to cast on for. So that's generally what I do. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my small needle here. Here's I'm looping my yarn over the top of the needle, and then I'm going to hold it like a slingshot. So this back yarn here is coming over the top. So this is going to be my first stitch. Okay, then I'm going to go, I hold this a little bit. I'm going to come under and grab that yarn and bring it under this back strand right there. So that is a purl stitch. First one's a knit stitch, that's a purl stitch. Now I'm going to go under the front, come back and grab that back yarn for a knit stitch. I agree with Judy. It is really much easier to use a straight needle. If you need to, if you need to cast on a lot of stitches for the Italian, you don't ever want it to get onto the cable. So I'm only doing a few right here. So I'm good. I'm good like this, but definitely if you are doing a lot of stitches, use a straight needle because then they won't twist around the needle. Okay, so I'm going to do a purl now, going under both strands and then grab that front yarn and then under the front, grab the back. So I like to have all of my stitches mounted with right leg in front and left leg in back. That makes it easier for me. Um, but the other way may be easier for you. So you want to kind of snug them up as you're going along. And once you have the muscle memory, it becomes pretty quick. Okay, so I'm just going to do these. I'm not going to do very many. If I were to do quite a few, they would end up on the cable and they'd end up twisting around. So when I do the Italian cast on, I turn and work a row. So I don't usually pay any attention to which strand of yarn is in front and which is in back. So sometimes I end up with the working yarn in front and sometimes I end up with it in back. But if it looks like it's coming loose, just twist your strands together and you'll be fine. So yes, Judy was saying she uses this cast on for brioche. It's really good for brioche. Okay. So oops, that first one was actually a knit stitch and not a purl. Okay. So on the back, as you begin, you'll see that you're gonna come across stitches that look like knit stitches and some that look like purls. So work them as they present, still using your smaller needle. So I'm going to work these across using my smaller needle. And when we get to the end, just going to turn this over. Okay, so you can start to see on the edge here, has a nice little edge. Okay, and on this side, I'm going to start switching over to my larger needles. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so this is how I'm going to start my working in the round. So that is my first one. I like to work with 2 circulars when I have small circumference knits in the round, or double pointed needles are good too, but I tend to go through phases. So right now I'm in I like to work with 2 circulars phase. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. So now I have my 2 circular needles. So here is my cast on, and then I've worked 1 row flat, and now this is my second row, and I'm going to join that in the round. So I just fold that together. So I have 6 stitches on one needle and 6 on the other. So the 6 stitches that are on the needle with the blue cable are going to stay on that needle, and the 6 stitches that are on the one with the black cable are going to stay on that needle always. And they're folded in half. And now I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to join. So I keep this folded so that I don't twist. And now I'm just gonna give that a little extra yank to make sure that it closes up the space. Okay. Oh, and Marianne, you asked about the yellow shawl behind me. That is Spring 4th. So it's a former mystery shawl, and it's getting to be mystery time, my favorite time of year. Okay. So these are joined, and now I can just keep working. I do get that just a little yank every time I go to a different needle. I just give it a little yank, extra yank. Okay, so at the end, you're going to use the tail and sew that bottom together. Okay, let me move this across here. Boop. Okay, so here's my tail. I want to make that look as neat as possible. So I'm going to come through here. And then on the other side, I'm going to finish sewing it up on the other side. But this is a very small circumference. So I'll just do it from the front. Okay. And then once that is sewn together, then I'm just going to be weaving in my end in the back. So I did this without those tubular rounds, the slipping rounds, and you can do it that way, or you can do it with the two rounds where the first one, you're just slipping the purl stitches and knitting the knit stitches, and then purling the purl stitches and slipping the knit stitches. So let me see if I have missed lots of questions here. Okay. Okay. So Sue was talking about keeping the round looking like it's continuous when you're doing the little bind off here. So probably if you're having problems making it look continuous, you have forgotten to work that purl stitch twice. So, and as you could see, when I started, I forgot to work it the left to right, like the knitwise. That is so easy to do. So I basically, when I'm doing this, I just keep up a chant in my head, like left to right, right to left, right to left. And I just keep reminding myself over and over that I have to work the purl stitch twice. And that is probably what's happening, that you're just not working that purl stitch twice. And then one thing I want to say, like I see a lot of people questions like they feel like they're cheating if something doesn't look right and then they're kind of sewing it in at the end. And as you could see when I finished my bind off, I did that. Like I sewed in that last annoying stitch that just got stretched out. That's not cheating. Like everybody does that. And there's the knitting and then there's the finishing of everything. And sometimes when you knit, you're just going to have larger stitches that just they're at sort of like a stress point, and what happens is something gets stretched out. Don't feel bad about going back over that, like duplicate stitch or just sewing things together, or my little trick for closing up gusset holes. Don't feel like that's cheating or like you're a bad knitter because it ended up and you had some stretched out stitches. That happens to all of us. And that's why there are so many little ways to fix those stitches and make them look better. So don't feel bad about it at all. That cardigan that I was talking about, because I used a mohair strand in there, it's very fine. So, right, like at the underarm gusset, like there's a small gusset, there are some sort of elongated stitches, and I just duplicate stitched it. So that's like, don't feel bad about doing that if you go through it. What you're looking for is a fun process and then also a beautiful garment at the end. So if the garment needs just a little bit more help at the end, do it. Sometimes it just happens. So there are lots of ways to fix all those issues. And if you have any questions about little things like that, I am so full of ways to like sew things in and fix them. I mean, I could talk for hours about it. So let's see. Any more questions? Um, it is a lot like grafting, definitely. Sue, I am going to do the cast on and the bind off. I've just been sort of like procrastinating. I had a lot of deadlines and stuff like that, so I've been procrastinating putting those together and editing and everything. But I have some footage, and I will get those up, and that will make it easier. I will also put in different some timestamps and stuff in this, so I have a very long to-do list. Let me see. So, yeah, definitely. Sue was just saying, struggle is perfectionism and willingness to fudge something to try to make it look better. Sometimes um, there is there is no way to make it look perfect the first time. For instance, like if you have an underarm gusset, if you actually take a look at closely at samples that are knit, like yoke sweaters or something like that, even yoke sweaters you might purchase. So I have an Icelandic sweater that I was given to me, um, hand knit in Iceland and everything. And it has that little hole at the gusset on the underarm. So I think a lot of times we're more we're harder on ourselves than we are on other knitters who maybe have those issues, and we just don't really notice that because it's really common. And if you have to go back and sort of fudge things and sew them together or rip it out and do it again, that is totally, totally okay. And it's also okay if you don't want to. I mean, it's your project, you get to say, and nothing is cheating. So that's my opinion. Okay, let's see. Alrighty. Okay, so almost finished. Don't forget that mystery season is coming. And so that's my mystery shawl. It's going to start in April, and there are going to be 5 clues. So it's a 2-color shawl, and there are kits on the Verve for Keeping Warm site. And then also those include the pattern, the yarn, and the annual mystery shopping. There are also bundles for my new cardigan that Verb has. And I don't know if it's up on their site yet, but if it's not quite yet, I did see them putting together a listing, so it should be pretty soon there as well. And so they have that bundle. And then there's also Knit for Food is this weekend. And so there are the usual festivities and all of that. And then also I'm having a like a little Zoom hangout at 1 Pacific. And that is just, it's not official or anything. It's just because I'm going to be knitting all day and I wanted to hang out with you guys. So if you can join me, that would be awesome. And I put that out in my newsletter. So I'm also going to, I posted it to my Facebook group and I will also post it to my Ravelry group. And hopefully you can join me. That would be lovely. Okay, so, all right, I think I've gotten everything. I think I answered everybody's questions, I hope. So next week, um, I'm going to show you 2x2 rib. So both how to get it started with a tubular cast on, and then also how to do the sewn tubular bind off for a 2x2 rib. So that one is, it's really kind of magic when at the end because it's just magic. You'll see. Anyway, so thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you can join me on Saturday, and also if you can support my Knit for Food like donations. I have a really low goal because it's the first year I've done it, and there are these wildly crazy, amazing fundraisers out there too. So mine is only $1,000, and I'm getting closer. So if you can, like if you can donate even $5, it actually really helps. It all comes together and makes a bigger hole. So drops in the bucket eventually fill the bucket. So hopefully you can join me this Saturday for Zoom. I'm not going to post the link on YouTube, but again, it's on Facebook. It was in my newsletter, and I'm going to post it on Ravelry. If you're in the Bay Area this weekend, definitely stop by a Verb for Keeping Warm and try on the cardigan. It looks good on lots and lots of different people. So don't be afraid just to go over to the mannequin and take it down and put it on. And yeah, so I hope you'll like and subscribe. And I hope I will see you next week. So happy spring, everybody. Take care, and I will see you around. Bye bye.